Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. I am so thrilled, so stoked for this evening and this very special evening. We have a huge guest star on. I've been following her on Facebook for quite some time. We just met for the first time virtually tonight. But this is Dr. Beth Zogg, and she is Clay Thompson's granddaughter. So if you are excited about Thompson Technique, if you are excited about drop table, if you are excited about chiropractic, this is the conversation for you to listen into and to be a part of. So if you have any questions as she goes along, she's going to walk us through Thompson Technique. She's going to walk us through some thermography stuff. And if you have any questions during this entire process, please do not hesitate to drop them in the comments. I will get your questions to her, and we will keep this ball rolling. So she's tuning in from Iowa right now, and when we get back from thanking our initial sponsors, we will hear all about her chiropractic story, how she grew up, where she came from, and how she got to where she is today. We will be right back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and share this with your friends. Love and appreciate you. We'll be right back. To Inspire Women is the elite boutique coaching company for chiropractors who are looking to live life and run business in a way that is personal, unique, and authentic. They focus on business systems and money mindset mastery so you can pay down debt, be more profitable, and serve more people. Their goal is to empower you to achieve success by your own rules and your own definition. Head to toinspirewomen.com now because they know there's a better way. Chiro HD, superior cloud-based practice management software. Chiro HD is a user-friendly, all-in-one EHR solution built with one mission: to help you run your practice like a boss. Learn more at chirohd.com. Dr. Brad Glowacki runs one of the highest volume, highest profile, highest profitability practices in the world, and it's all run with vitalistic communication procedures. Those procedures from his office are then shared with other chiropractors at his various trainings as a part of Level Up mentoring. This information is created, developed, tested, and then packaged simplistically before being taught. With bruises and scars from making mistakes, Dr. Glow always delivers refined content that is battle-tested and simplified for use on Monday. To level up your life and practice, head over to levelupmentoring.rocks. That's levelupmentoring.rocks. Total Clinic Solutions is your go-to source for purchasing both brand new and refurbished chiropractic equipment, as well as phone support for repairs and maintenance. Call Derek and allow him to combine your wishes and his 23 years of chiropractic equipment expertise to find what's best for you and your patients at 704-622-4089 or head to totalclinicsolutions.com now. It's time that chiropractors look beyond spinal alignments and measure the nerve connections that keep our patients feeling strong and performing at their peak. CLA designed the Insight scanning technologies to transform exams and generate powerful reports that give practitioners the certainty they have been searching for. Learn how CLA has partnered with practices around the world by going to insightcla.com. Easily share your passion for chiropractic and look good doing it with Above Down Apparel, offering a premium lineup of principled apparel that's impossibly soft, sustainably sourced, and chiropractic AF. Visit abovedown.co and follow them on Instagram to learn more and score yourself some sweet chiro swag. Sked is the all-in-one system that allows for amazing control and flexibility of your scheduling. Yes, your next new hire. Every aspect of when and where you service your customers is at your command. Sked is tightly integrated with your existing EHR system. This software was made by a chiropractor specifically for chiropractic. No joke. Go check out their latest care plan feature by heading to go.sked.life/legendarypod. Dr. David Toohill is an innovative product and marketing strategist, bridging the gap between your vision and strategic plan. He will help you design specific products and processes that are both scalable and set up to produce long-term revenue and growth. He has previously worked with influencers that include Dr. Josh Axe, Jordan Rubin of Ancient Nutrition, Olympic gold medalist Shawn Johnson, and many, many others. Schedule your call with Dr. Dave today by heading to meetwithdrdave.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Phenomenal. Welcome back, everybody, to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Johnny Reuter, and we are sitting down with a very special guest, Dr. Beth Zogg, and she is talking to us all about Thompson Technique, thermography, and we're even going to be discussing the new ICA bylaw changes that might be happening if we don't take action sooner rather than later. And she's going to break it all down for us tonight. But first, Doc, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from where you came from to get to where you are now, and pretty much your whole journey, as short or as long as you want to make that. I would love to hear that conversation from you. So go ahead.
Oh, sure. Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show. So yeah, like you said, Dr. Clay Thompson is my grandfather. So I'm one of those chiropractic kids, grew up with chiropractic. And like a lot of chiropractic kids, it's kind of easy to take that for granted. So I never really thought about being a chiropractor until I went to actually a DE meeting. Dr. Sid was having a birthday party for my grandfather, and so my grandparents wanted my mom and I to kind of tag along, and we got to the DE meeting, and everybody was just so excited about chiropractic and so passionate about it. And so that's when I first started thinking about going to chiropractic college. And so my grandfather was good friends with Dr. Sid, and I ended up going to Life, and that was really like in Life's peak and heyday, and it was just awesome. Had a lot of great instructors, and met a lot of the greats in our profession at that time. And so then graduated in 2004. I moved back to Iowa, where I grew up, and so I've been practicing here ever since.
Awesome. And I feel like you shortened that up a lot, because I feel like you've had a lot of great experience in chiropractic, right? And I mean, I love to hear your story. How old were you when you went to your first DE meeting?
Oh, well, I'm sure I went to some DE meetings as a kid, as a child, but I didn't really, pay attention to it. But when I went to that DE meeting that really got me thinking about becoming a chiropractor, I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
I was actually studying dance. I wanted to become a professional dancer, and I was struggling with a lot of injuries, and the dancer's career doesn't last very long anyway, and so I was really sort of not sure what I was going to do because of those injuries. And so then when I decided to go to chiropractic college, it was just became my next new passion. My first love was dance, and then after that it's been chiropractic all the way. So,
awesome. That is fantastic. Yeah. So let's talk tonight. We're talking all about Thompson Technique to begin here. Run us through. I would like to just kind of talk about the technique, kind of how it was maybe developed, and then we'll get into specifics of like who should it be used for. How can you run a successful practice using Thompson? So let's start with the history, the foundational stuff. Run us through that part first.
Yeah, so my grandfather went into chiropractic as an older student in his 30s. His life was actually saved by chiropractic, and so he, didn't go to chiropractic college to treat back pain or something like that. He really understood the power of the adjustment. And so he went to chiropractic college, and at that time, those were the HIO days, and so they were just using the side posture table with the stationary headpiece. And for those of you that knew my grandpa, or if you ever have seen pictures of him, he was a pretty small guy, probably never weighed more than 135 pounds, soaking wet. And so when he gave his first toggle recoil adjustment on that stationary headpiece, he felt a lot of the force coming back at him. And so he began to think, there must be a better way to give the adjustment. And of course, he had a background in a mechanical background, an engineering background. And so he developed the very first drop headpiece. And from there, then the whole drop table, and then they developed the leg check analysis, and it kind of, evolved into what we know as the technique today. So the technique is actually It's an adjusting procedure, but it's also a leg check analysis, which was really awesome. So even if you don't have a drop table, you can use the analysis to figure out, where to adjust your patients. But of course, the drop table makes it a lot easier and more gentle on the doctor and the patient. So I love it, because it extends your life as a doctor. You can adjust patients all day long and not get tired and not get injured. And it gives a really powerful adjustment, because with that principle of, you provide a force into the patient's body, that force goes through the patient's body, through the drop piece. When the piece hits bottom, then it's that patient's innate intelligence that makes the correction. So it's a really nice way to educate patients, also that you're not like setting the bone, but it's their body always doing the healing. It's a really innate base technique in that their leg length, their leg check shows you where to adjust in which order. So it's a really awesome technique.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also argue, like you just said, you brought up the word innate, which is a great word in chiropractic. We all love that word. And I would argue, Thompson is one of the most innate procedures and analyses out there in regards to technique. Literally everything you do is calculated through responding to what the patient is going through at that moment in time on the table. And we learn that in school, especially at Life, as a core curriculum class, as a core curriculum technique. And so it's really important for you to kind of understand and grasp the concept of how that works, understanding why we're doing head rotations, understanding why we're doing different leg checks and analyses like that. So I really appreciate that you just said, it's using that patient's innate to kind of guide you on where to adjust, right? Because it takes us as doctors and practitioners out of the educated mind and really puts us in the innate mind and the innate aspect with the patient, right? And we really get to that dance that we call it when we're, at the table with that patient, which is awesome. So now talk to us a little bit about who's it for, doctor-wise, and who's it for patient-wise, and how can we run a successful clinic using it?
Yeah, so the technique really, it would be good for any doctor size. Like I said, just because it will save your body. It's the tables are adjustable, especially the Thompson table, the Zenith 440. To adjust the patient, so you can do it, really, really quickly. As far as patients go, you could really use the drop table on almost any patient. Now, obviously, there are always, a few contraindications, but it's a great technique. For any size patient, for elderly, it's adaptable for pregnant women, so they can still get adjusted laying prone, which is kind of nice for them to get a little bit of relief laying on their belly. Mm-hmm. And so it's just really a great technique for if you have a family type practice, which is what I have. It's good for all ages, all sizes. For women especially, there's not a patient that comes in my office that I don't feel confident I can take care of. So even though I'm not really big and strong, if I have like a 300-pound really big muscly guy come in, I know that I can still deliver a great adjustment on the drop table. So it kind of levels the playing field. My grandpa would say that it kind of makes a mediocre adjuster a good adjuster because of the speed of the drop, and it makes a good adjuster an amazing adjuster. So it kind of just helps build on whatever skills that you already have.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And you keep bringing up this point that it saves the doctor, right? And I really want people to understand that sitting at home watching this and listening to this, because in regards to longevity and chiropractic, we oftentimes see a lot of chiropractors, a lot of students even, hurt themselves because they either are adjusting wrong, they're adjusting too much, or they're combining those two, which is just a disaster. They're adjusting too much wrong, right? And so a lot of times we're using different lines of drive and lines of correction, and all of a sudden we're putting our bodies in different positions and contortions, and then all that force is coming back on us and our joints, and that's no good for longevity in practice, especially when you're seeing high volume family office and practice like you are, and like the practice that I'm in, right? And so I would also argue that it is extremely fast. You can take your time, right? Well, you can take your time with every patient, but it is extremely efficient is what the word I want to use is. It's efficient and effective. And if those two words don't resonate with you as a chiropractor right now, I don't know what two words would, right? Efficient and effective, and that's what Thompson Technique is for you and your clinic. So I'm all about it. I love it. We use it in our practice. We use it with a mixture of full spine in regards to, hey, is this person Thompson? Is this person full spine? But we have the opportunity and the chance to utilize it in our practice. And I would argue that most people should. And most people, as practicing chiropractors out there, I think most people do use Thompson quite a bit in practice. And it's because it's that efficient, that effective, and it saves you. It really, really does. And when we talk about like practitioners or chiropractors practicing until they're like 90, 94, right? We see some of those articles coming out of the good, strong Midwest here. You know, we see these articles and it's like, yeah, you know, and you just wonder what they do. And it's either Thompson or it's Toggle, right? It's like one of those two. Yeah. And it's pretty funny in that regard of like, that's how little force is coming back onto the doctor, but that's how powerful those adjustments are for those patients. So, we're going to come back from thanking our sponsors quick. And then if you have any last touchings on Thompson Technique, we're going to do that when we come back. And then we'll talk all about thermography. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Perfect. Every chiropractic clinic needs a compliance program. If you are not sure what that includes or why you need one, let Dr. Robin from RHDC Consulting help you build your chiropractic compliance. If you are ready to get started, head to robin-hale.mykajabi.com and let Dr. Robin guide you to the end result. Dr. Christy Wick is revamping the landscape of women's chiropractic coaching. With a focus on connection and congruence, she's on a mission to empower lady DCs across the nation to create bold, successful lives and practices their way. Get started today by visiting theilluminatedsquad.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Alrighty, welcome back everyone to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. We are talking all about Thompson Technique with Dr. Beth, the granddaughter and the famous person herself of J. Clay Thompson. And I want you to wrap us up on the Thompson Technique and then transition into thermography for us. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so I would say the great thing about the Thompson analysis is that it's very thorough. So I think that is also really appealing to especially students. You don't have to be worried about not knowing what to adjust and where to adjust. The leg check analysis just is really simple and easy to follow. So it's a great one to just kind of take out as a new practitioner also. So in Thompson, we use the leg check analysis, but it is somewhat subjective. So, like when you're in school and all you and your buddies are checking somebody's legs, you might come up with something a little bit. So it's also really important for us to have an objective measure, right? And that's where the instrumentation and the thermography comes into. So I had the great honor of getting to learn a lot about thermography from Dr. Glenn Stillwagon, who was the co-developer of the Pierce-Stillwagon technique, and then together they developed the DTG, which a lot of doctors still use, and then Dr. Stillwagon went on to develop the Visitherm, which was a really cool thermography system. And so most of what I know about that I learned from him. And so I know we do have a lot of research and talk right now about heart rate variability and things like that. And so, even X-ray analysis and all of our objective measures are really, really important, not just documenting chiropractic for our patients and ourselves, but also just, for the profession to show patients and other professionals, that what we're doing really is having impact on the patient's body and especially the nervous system. And so thermography is something that's really easy. It's not very expensive, and it's easy to implement into practice, where you would, do your pre and post scans and monitor from visit to visit to make sure that you actually are adjusting the right place at the right time. We like to, sometimes we need to go back and reevaluate and keep going with our change in the patient's actual nervous system.
Yeah. And I mean, thermography in regards to where it was back in the day to where it is today is extremely critical to understand for people, because as chiropractic has developed, as chiropractic has progressed, also our technology has too, right? As it should be. And I would argue a lot of people get hung up on this idea of like, the technology's not caught up, we don't understand what's going on, but we actually do. When you start, like you mentioned, a couple other objective analyses like heart rate variability, x-rays, right? Things of that nature. When we're starting to look into objective measures and how they actually impact, maybe structurally, maybe thermography, maybe heart rate, right? Maybe these different things, doesn't really matter as long as we're showing an objective measure that shows that we as chiropractors, as practitioners, are impacting that patient's body. And like you said, most importantly, the nervous system. That is critical to understand and apply to your practice, because it's going to get you better results, right? If you can follow something that, yeah, we have subjective measures that help us on the table and help us do things in the moment, but we also need something to track, something to actually objectively measure so that we know exactly why the patient is getting better, and then we can put it down on paper. And I like how you put it, because it's not only for the patient's benefit, but selfishly it's for chiropractics, right? Because when we are able to put some of this objective data together and we really start to analyze it and we really start to prove that chiropractic is what's changing the nervous system, which is what's causing health in individuals, that's where we have a profound impact on society, right? So I appreciate you for saying that. Yeah. Do you have anything else on thermography that you want to mention?
Yeah, well, just that it's a great patient educational tool that gets the patient focused off of their symptoms and onto the system, and they can start to understand the scans. And so I love it for that purpose also. I mean, if you don't want like a pain-focused practice, because that's kind of a miserable practice, then, if you really want patients coming in because they want to get checked, they want to make sure that their nervous system is clear, then thermography is a great tool for just educating the patient.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we use thermography in our clinic, and it's absolutely amazing in regards to patient education, because you can sit down with someone and say, hey, here's what's going on, right? Here's what we're looking at. Here's what we're seeing. And again, it's not as specific, but it is an objective measure, right? And I really want to encourage people to have multiple or a multitude of objective measures that they're using and analyzing on people, plus your subjective, right? That's what makes a good patient care, or that's what makes good patient care, is the mixture and the hodgepodge between objective measures and subjective measures. Because it's like, hey, Susie, you're feeling really good. That's great. You're functioning better. But here's why, right? Here's why we're functioning better. Here's what we can look at and analyze. You were at X amount of subluxations, or you were at this was your first thermography scan, and this is your second or third, right? And so you really start to utilize it as a patient education tool. And then that's where retention comes from. That's where, lifelong chiropractic patients come from, in regards to not chasing after pain all the time. So I'm really glad you said that. So I am going to cut to our last ad break here. And when we come back, we are talking all about the ICA bylaw changes, what's going on there, what action steps we can take. And Dr. Beth is going to run us through everything going on. So we will be right back from thanking these last few sponsors. Dr. Stu Hoffman, founder and president of ChiroSecure Malpractice Insurance, is the foremost expert in both risk management and risk avoidance. Understanding the everyday challenges of today's practicing chiropractor and the current public perception of chiropractic has made ChiroSecure the fastest growing malpractice insurance program of the last 28 years. Find out more at chirosecure.com. Imaging Services' primary business is chiropractic solutions. With over 45 years in the industry of helping chiropractors, Michael Tokash offers free consultations on building your business. In the past year, Imaging Services has installed over 100 X-ray machines and digital X-ray systems in over 42 states across the United States. For more, head to theimagingservices.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. So we are talking all about the ICA bylaw changes. We just got done talking about Thompson Technique, Thermography. If you're just hopping on now, I highly encourage you to go back to the beginning of this episode. And that's not for the video views. You guys know that by now. This is for you to learn something, to listen to something, and to listen to someone who has the intelligence, the wisdom, and the experience behind chiropractic that you should be hearing and that you need more of. So, Doc, talk to us about the ICA bylaw changes. What's going on? What do we need to know? And tell us a little bit about how you're involved in the ICA so people know kind of where you're coming from in regards to your understanding in detail behind this stuff.
Sure, yeah. So I am the representative for Iowa for the ICA. And for those of you that are ICA members, you should have received an email within the last couple weeks from Beth Clay, just sort of outlining these proposed bylaws changes. So basically, the ICA wants to combine its constitution with its bylaws to kind of streamline things. And so they sent out kind of their goals for those changes. And many of us that have been involved with the ICA for a long time have some concerns or a few red flags. And so, we really encourage everybody to read the email from Beth Clay, look at the Constitution on the ICA webpage so you kind of know what it was before and then what the changes will mean so that you can make an educated decision, because the vote will be coming up in the next, I guess, maybe 2 to 4 weeks. I'm not entirely sure. So the gist of it is that in the past or currently, the membership and the state representatives like myself would have a lot of voting privileges in terms of like voting for the president and those board members and that kind of thing. And so essentially these bylaws changes are going to put almost all of that power authority into the hands of the board. And so that's a bit concerning, because even if we love the current board, when we think about future generations 10, 20, 50, 100 years from now, we want to make sure that the membership always has input into the decisions and the direction of the organization. And so personally, I hope that this bylaw proposal gets voted no, because I think there's just a few red flags. Some of those things would be, right now there are 6 at-large seats that the representative assembly would vote in, and that kind of gives the RAs or the state representatives a little bit of input into who's on the board. With the new bylaws, they are going to increase the number of the board members. So those 5 positions really would be kind of washed out. In the new bylaws, the board can vote on new members or vote off members. There won't be any representation from Canada. I believe that there won't be representation from the chiropractic colleges any longer. They're going to allow 3 non-chiropractic positions on the board, which, to me, that could eventually be a concern. Let's say that there's a big donor and they say, well, we'll give a big chunk of money to ICA if we get a board seat. I mean, there's just like a lot of things that when we look at down the road, when all of us are gone, are these things that are really good for the organization? And so I have, some information about it. We'll give out my email address. If anybody wants me to send you some information on it, I'd be happy to. My email address is just bethzoggdc@gmail.com. And I would say just definitely educate yourself, call the board, ask them questions. Feel free to contact me, contact your state representative. I think that this should not be something that's rushed into, for sure. We should have a lot more conversation about it.
Yeah. And I really appreciate you saying something about it. I appreciate you bringing it up. And for all of those that are student ICA members and are DC ICA members, this is a really important time in history, like Dr. Beth is saying, in regards to, don't think of this as, how does this impact me? How does this impact me? Because a lot of us, what we'll like to do is we'll just brush it off, right? This doesn't impact me. I'm not concerned with this right now, right? But like you said, when we're all gone, this is going to be a totally different story. And like you said, it's going to change some things and rattle some cages that probably shouldn't have ever been rattled in the first place. And so really make sure that, the organization that you're a part of, no matter it be the ICA or whatever you're a part of, make sure that if you are a member, that you are involved and you are active in that membership. You're paying for it, right? You're supporting them and what they do. If you are a paying member of the ICA or a paying member of any organization, make sure that you are active and your voice is heard. That's end of story. Like, I feel like a lot of people go through life and they're told to join this or they're told to do that, but then they just like leave it. And it's like, how do you walk away from that? Make sure that you are an active member and you're changing the chiropractic profession for the better, and not backtracking and not giving the power to people that might not or should not have the power, either now or in the future. Like you said, you might like the board now, but what about 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, right? The list goes on. So Dr. Beth's email is bethzoggdc@gmail.com. For all of those interested, if you want more information, feel free to email her. Email your state representative for the ICA. Dr. Beth is actually the Iowa state representative for the ICA. So make sure you reach out to her if you're in Iowa, or if you're just confused or don't know your state rep, just email her and she will connect you with the right people. And in regards to Thompson Technique, where you can find more on Thompson, that is going to be at J. Clay Thompson Technique Foundation group on Facebook. So that's J. Clay Thompson Technique Foundation on Facebook, and it is a group. All you got to do is ask to join. If you're a student or a DC, Dr. Beth or one of the administrators of that group will let you in, and that is a really cool place to learn more history about Clay Thompson, about Thompson Technique, and interact with some really, really powerful, prominent people in regards to Thompson Technique, practicing it actively right now in today's day and age. So that's really exciting. Make sure you email Dr. Beth. Make sure you hop in that group. And Dr. Beth, I want to leave the floor to you. Do you have any last minute things you'd like to say to chiropractors, DCs, DC students, whatever you got to say? I would like you to have the floor to close us out of the show.
Sure, yeah. And thanks again for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, so I would say to all you students out there, my grandfather always talked about having a lot of tools in your toolbox. In other words, don't just learn one technique. No technique is good for every patient all the time. I mean, we all know that. And so, try to, go to every single technique club that you can, go to as many seminars that you can on technique, especially as a student, because they're probably a little bit cheaper. And, just learn as much as you can, and maybe pick like 3 techniques that really fit your personality and your body type and that you really kind of connect with, and become really good at those. And so then when you walk into your first day of practice, you'll be totally confident, and you'll know that no matter what walks in your door, that you'll know how to take care of that patient. That would be my best advice, I think.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for being on the show, Dr. Beth. Thank you all for tuning in, watching, listening later. Again, this is the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Reuter. And we are really excited because we just launched our brand new job board. So you please come post on our community job board at the Legendary Chiropractor. And I actually just launched a promo ad campaign. So you might see my face all around Facebook if you engage with us here. We're starting to really roll things out here at the Legendary Chiropractor, and we want to give you the red carpet service that you deserve to find your next best associate chiropractor for your office, because we're sick and tired of hearing this eat your young BS that is around this profession, and we're here to change that. And so what I was always told was, if you have a problem, come up with a solution. And that's what we've done here at the Legendary Chiropractor. So not only can you enjoy great podcasts and past episodes, but you can also find your next associate or find your next employer as a interested candidate on our platform. So I love and appreciate every single one of you. Dr. Beth, thank you for your time, your energy, and your passion for chiropractic. And I hope that you have a very powerful week this week, and everybody does this week as well. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Bye, guys.
Bye.